Hello, guys. Wow. So this is our first ever live. If you are on this live, you are the real OG. Yeah, so you're welcome. Thank you to all our subscribers that has been with us till now. Yeah. And for making it the very first episode of our YouTube live. Sincerely, I sincerely appreciate you. We sincerely appreciate you. And we say thank you very much. It's about NHS jobs, questions and answer sections, because we've been receiving loads of questions about how to apply to the NHS. Some have been making different applications without getting invited for interviews, while others make it to the interview stage without landing a job, and then several other questions. So that's why we decided to hold this live today to answer some of your questions and also share some very important tips with you. So if you are in that place where you're looking for an NHS job, or you're looking for any other type of job, and then you're preparing for an interview and you don't know how to go about it and you're nervous, then you're in the right place. Just stay tuned. Make sure you watch this live to the very end and ask any questions that you may have. All right. So without wasting much of our time, I don't know who we have. I don't know how many people are watching right now, but if you're here, you can just type in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. Yeah, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're watching from. If you can see this live, just type in the comment where you're watching from, and then we can appreciate you. All right. Yeah. So without wasting much of our time, let's begin. so the very que- so the very first thing we'll be looking at is for that person who is asking, I'm looking for an NHS job, or you are in that stage of job hunting, what are the things that you can do to boost your chances of landing yourself a job in no time? All right. So the very first thing I would like you to pay attention to is to outline the skills that you have, your competencies, your area of strength. You can start by writing them down. Yeah. I know if you ask some people, they can say, they can tell you they can do almost everything. They're like jack of all trade, master of none. Yeah, so are you like that? So start by writing in simple steps what are your area of strength, what are your competencies, what skills do you have, and yeah, start by writing them down, outline them down, all right? Then the next thing you want to do is to start reading several job description. Okay, one of the things we've noticed is that a lot of people are looking for certain kinds of jobs, and they'll just go to certain job sites and then they're just searching. They'll say, for example, I'm looking for a customer service role, and then they'll just filter their search by customer service and okay, customer service, they don't have it in this location, or they don't meet the requirements, and then they just feel like they're not qualified for it. But there are some roles that could actually be a customer service role, but the title of the job will not be spelled out customer service. You will only find out by reading the job description in detail, all right? You only find out by reading the job description in detail that actually what this job is about is customer service, okay? And you have that skill, but you will not know by just looking at the title of the job. So you want to do yourself a lot of good by taking your time to read job description instead of just looking at job titles and just skipping them or passing them by because you think you don't qualify. Okay. And yeah, then if you're looking specifically for NHS jobs, then you want to look at certain websites like nhsjobs.com. You want to look at websites like jobs.nhs.uk. You want to also look at sites like healthcare careers.uk. Yeah. And then after that, the next thing you want to do is to go on those websites and create an account. For most of them, especially healthcare careers.uk and NHS job, it would automatically direct you to creating a track account. If you've not heard of it before, that's the biggest website for finding and applying for NHS job. It's called Track. Yeah, it's called Track. All right. So do yourself good by going on there, create an account. It's going to ask you for basic details about you, like your name, your surname, your first name, your country of origin, just details about you, your sexual orientation and things like that. Just fill it in as you go. All right. And before you know it, you have a track account. It's going to ask you for your email address, your phone number, and a password. Okay, so it's just simple. It's just simple enough. Just follow it and create an account, and then you can start applying for jobs. All right. So after creating an account, yeah, you can start applying for jobs. Yeah, like I said, and bear in mind that the more volume of jobs application you make, the higher your chances of landing yourself interviews and eventually getting a job. All right. So I have seen some people that will just stop at making 10 applications and then they're tired. Some people just stop at making 20 applications and they're tired. But there are some resilient people that will tell you they got their desired job after applying for like 100 jobs, 200. I think I've heard someone say she applied for up to 800 jobs, and I'm like, how do you even do that? But some people are that resilient. So you would want to put in as many applications, all right, to increase your chances of landing yourself an interview and eventually getting a job. Okay, so one of the um one of the major criterias of an NHS application is personal statement. After you have filled all the details that you have, your personal details, your certification, the should I say trainings that you've done, and every other thing about you you've filled in your relevant experiences, there is always a place on the NHS application that you have to write a personal statement. Okay, personal statement concerning the application. So there is a mistake that some people make, or should I say lots of people make, is that they'll just use one personal statement for every application they come across, and then they're wondering, why am I not getting called for an interview? That's because all jobs are not the same. All jobs are not the same. Even though some jobs might look alike, what an organization, let me say organization A might be looking for, or company A might be looking out for, would be different from what company B is looking out for in the ideal applicant. So you want to go through every of those applications, every of those job adverts, all right, and pick out the specific things that the organization is looking for on from the ideal applicant that will be successful on the road. You want to pick that out and include that in your personal statement. Okay, so you want to read one of the documents that is attached to every NHS job advert, called the person specification. Usually if you're on track, yeah, it's going to be towards the end of the page where they'll tell you to download some of those documents. Is one of those documents. So instead of skipping after reading the job description and everything, instead of skipping directly to the apply button and start applying, you want to take your time to download the person specification, read it carefully, and include it in your personal statement. Okay, and then one other thing you want to include in your personal statement is to make sure that the skills that you have align with the requirement, or the skills that are required for that particular position. So for example, they might be looking for, say, someone who is a team player, someone who is caring, someone who is a hard worker, someone who is able to work under pressure, someone who is a good listener. For example, if you've never worked in an NHS organization before, you might have worked in a role in the UK, say customer service, or on any other role that you might have interacted with people, and then you have demonstrated these skills that they talk about, like working as part of a team, being a good listener, and things like that. You want to include that or those skills in your personal statement. They are called transferable skills, in as much as they are not directly related to the NHS job that you're applying for. They are skills that you picked up on your previous role that can be transferred to this new role that you are applying for. So you want to include your your skills that are directly related or relevant to that particular role. Your transferable skills, you want to include that in your application, okay? And then, yeah, this one is directly linked to the next one I'm going to talk about. Your relevant experience that from your previous jobs, you would want to include them in your application. So for example, if you're applying for, say, say, a healthcare assistant role, for example, and maybe you've had something to do in the past with taking care of patients, it might not be within the NHS organization, okay? It might be in another organization, or maybe from like how many years back, okay? And then you might have also had another experience, say working in a shop or something. I'm just giving examples off of my head right now. You would want to emphasize more on the skills that you got, or on the experiences that you got from working with patients in the different organization. Do you get what I mean? I don't know if anyone is understanding what I'm trying to say. So you want to include your previous experiences that are directly related to the role that you're applying for in your personal statement. It increases your chances of getting interviews or landing yourself interviews. All right. And this one, I have just mentioned this. Don't make the mistake of using one personal statement for all your applications. So even if you're applying for same role with lots of organizations or different organizations within the NHS, you would want to look at what each of those organizations are looking out for in the ideal applicant and write a personal statement for each of them. So don't make that mistake of saying, oh, I've written this before, I'm applying for the same job, so I can use it. No. It doesn't work that way. So take your time, just put in the work, do the research, put in the work, and you will see results. And then this one is also close related to something I'm about to say. There are a lot of people that outsource their job application to others. I'm not saying it's entirely bad. I understand that lots of people are like working, like are trying to make ends meet, and then they don't have enough time. But you should create time for your job applications, because if you took out your time to research the roles, to research the to read the job description, research the roles what they are looking for, and research the organizations and everything, and then you end up making your application yourself, when you eventually land yourself an interview, you will be able to go through that interview stresslessly, because you have done all the research, you know what you're talking about. It's different from when, say, you pay someone or outsource the job application process to someone else, and then even if you get an interview, you would have to start doing lots of preparation, and it's it might affect you in the long run. So there might be you might get asked some questions during the interview that you will not be able to answer because you didn't do the research yourself. So as much as you want to outsource or want to make things easier for yourself, just make our time to put in the work. All right. So the next one we're going to come to right now is, okay, at this point, say you've landed yourself an interview. So we're going to be looking at some commonly or frequently asked NHS interview questions. And trust me, some of these questions I'll be sharing with you, I was directly asked during my NHS interview as well. All right, I was directly asked during my NHS interview, so do pay attention. A very common NHS interview question is, tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. So when you're asked this question, how do you go about answering it? I know at this point, a lot of people just are taken off guard, and then they start saying everything about themselves, talking about their village, their village people, and all of that. No, this is the time for you to tell them. Yeah, you can tell them your name, your son name. You can tell them about what you studied. You can tell them the relevant skills that you have, that you are bringing to the role. And then you can tell them about the relevant experiences that you have, that you are also bringing to the role if you're successful on that particular interview. From that particular interview. Then you can also tell them why you're looking to work with their organization. So that's a very, very, should I say, that's a very, very good way of answering that question. Tell me about yourself. Yeah, you would also want to make some research about that before going for your interview. Then the next question they might ask you is, why do you want to work for the NHS? Yeah. So of course, most times they expect you to already have a UK experience. So if you're working somewhere before, why do you want to leave your previous place of work and then come to work for the NHS? At this point, I want to point out that some people might be leaving their previous place of work due to maybe a negative experience they've had. This is not the time for you to tell them that. No, don't even mention that to them during the interview. Yeah. So tell them nice things about your previous place of work, like they're a good people to work for. You've learned a lot, they've taught you a lot, you've picked up lots of skills from there and all of that. But yeah, you decide to come to work for the NHS because from my research, this is what I found out about the NHS. The NHS is a very big organization, for example, that takes care of their staff. The NHS is a place that have lots of professionals that you can learn from, for example, and then you can progress in your career. Okay, so give them positive points why you want to work for the NHS. And mind you, there should be points that you have already researched about the NHS, okay? Then the next question they can ask you during your interview, this one they asked me is, tell me about a time when you made a mistake at your previous place of work and what did you do? So I know that we are all humans, yeah? And some people, because they're looking for a job, they might like want to go like, I've never made a mistake. Because they are scared that if they tell them now about a mistake they made, they might not get the job. No, but these people, they are humans. They know that you are human and you are capable of making a mistake. But what they want to find out is, are you able to own up to your mistakes when you make one? And are you able to come out clean and say, I made a mistake and this is what I did? So come up with a scenario or a scenario, yeah, say a story that happened at your previous place of work, that come up with a story of a mistake that happened and it came from you made a mistake and then you realized you made a mistake and then you spoke out to your manager or your team leader to say, I'm sorry I made this mistake, and then what you did, the steps you took in order not to make that mistake again. Okay, so there is usually a format of answering these questions. Yeah, it's called the STAR method of answering question. The STAR method of answering question. S stands for the situation. Yeah. T stands for the task that you're given to do. A stands for the action that you took, and R stands for the results. So for example, you can tell them something like, for the mistake question, for example, you can tell them something like, there was a time at my previous place of work where my manager told me to carry out a stock check, for example, and place order for items that we ran out of. And so that's the situation, okay? Then so you now tell them something like, I was distracted. So eventually when I did it, I forgot some items. I forgot to order some items and then we ran out of those items for the end of the month. Immediately I realized my mistake. I went to my manager and apologized. So that's the action he took. I went to my manager and apologized, and she forgave me and gave me the opportunity of reordering the remaining stocks. Okay. And after then, immediately I'm given a task in the middle of another task. If I'm given an assignment, I write down what I'm asked to do so that I will complete the task I'm on before I go and complete it. And if it's very urgent, I write down what I am doing at the moment so that I'll go do it immediately so I won't forget. And since then, it has never happened again. So that's the result. So you can see that from that story is progressive. And this time method is very important because in an interview scenario, you can be tense, you can be nervous, that you start saying different things, like you will start a story and you don't know where it's even ending. So this kind of give a structure to your mind that even if you are forming a story in your head, you know the next thing that should happen in that story. It is very, very important. So you need to practice this with yourself. Think of stories. It might not be the story I just told you right now, but think of personal stories that has happened before, and then think of how to structure it in case it comes up in your interview. Okay. So the next question you might be asked is, tell us about a time where you worked as part of a team or alone. So this particular for this particular question, they want to know if you're able to work as part of a team and if you're able to work alone if the need arises. So on your previous jobs, have there been times where you have worked together as a team? So if you've worked, for example, say as a healthcare assistant before, have there been times where you have been on shift with maybe other member of staff? So you can tell them about that story. Have there been times where you have been left alone to attend to patients, or even if it's not healthcare, even if you are working, say, as a customer service or in any other organization, have there been times where you've worked alone without, say, supervision or without another member of staff being present? So you can tell them that. That's what they want to know. Then another question you could be asked is, how will you protect patients' information? How will you protect patients' information? So in the UK, yeah, protecting customer or patient's information, personal data, is very, very important because of something called GDPR. If you've not heard of that, you would want to go and research that. Is a big deal in the UK. Okay, so when you ask the question, how will you protect patients' data and information? Even if you've not worked in healthcare before and don't know how it's done, say you are coming from, say, customer service setting, you can tell them you use systems or computer, and then all the computers are passworded, and it's only member of staff that are allowed to have password to those systems. And then if, for example, someone calls, you need to attend to someone, a customer, it has to be the account holder, and then you are not permitted to share their information with any other person who does not have anything to do with that particular customer. Yeah, because for the NHS, confidentiality is a big deal and is one of their core values. Yeah, it's one of their core values. Confidentiality is a big deal in the NHS. The question might not come the way I have asked the question right now. I have said it. It might come in various forms. When they ask you about confidentiality, when they ask you about patient dignity, when they ask you about patient's data and information, why do you need to protect it? It can come in any form. Just know that it's because of GDPR and you are not allowed to disclose patient's information with anyone other than the patient. It can lead to several things. I don't know, lately it was in the news that the one NHS website was hacked. Yeah, because of, I don't know why, but one NHS website was hacked, and it led to a lot of patient data being leaked, and being held by whoever hacked it, and it's a big problem in the NHS. So that's why confidentiality is a big problem for the NHS, and you would want to put that in mind in case you're asking any question related to doing your interview. If you've made it to this point on this live, I want you to give yourself a very sound clap here. Yes, you are the real G. Yeah. And sincerely, I am so grateful that you're on this live. And in case you have any question, you can drop them in the comment section. So before we get to the question section, I just want to highlight some frequently asked questions that have been coming to us as direct messages that people have been asking. And the very first one is, should you mention that you need sponsorship during your interview, or at what point should you mention that you need COS or visa sponsorship? A lot of people tend to say, yeah, don't mention it, don't allow them to know that you need sponsorship until you get in so that you can. But personally, I would say you should be very sincere from the very beginning. Yeah, there are some organizations, especially the NHS, yeah, that if they are offering sponsorship for those positions, they'll categorically state it on their job adverts. And some might not state it because they don't know, because they don't even need sponsorship. Some of them don't know what the sponsorship is because it's not a thing for them. It's only migrants that need it. They don't need to have a visa to work. So it's migrants like you and I that need it. So that's why we know about it. So some of them don't put it on their job applications because they don't know what it is until you tell them. So you need to mention it. For me, I'll say you need to mention it from the very beginning, especially if you need visa sponsorship, like urgently. All right. You can state it even, so you can mention it before coming for the interview and also say it during the interview. For example, the moment I got my interview for this particular role I'm doing right now, I give them a call and ask them, do you offer sponsorship for this role? And the person was like, what's that? Like, she didn't know about it. I shared the story on my YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel. You can go to the video section, look for it. And the title of that video is How I Got Visa Sponsorship Job with the NHS. Yeah, it's somewhere there. So go look for it. The whole story is there. So I would say you should mention it. Be sincere from the very beginning. Yeah, some have mentioned it and gotten it from the very beginning, while some didn't mention it, and then they invested their whole time in it, in that organization, and at the point where they needed it, they got told, no, we don't offer visa sponsorship for this role. Okay, so you won't want to do that. But most NHS organizations, if the role can be sponsored from the very beginning, they will sponsor you, because yeah, it's a big organization. It's the NHS. It's not a private organization. So long as the role you're applying for qualifies for a visa sponsorship, you will be sponsored. All right. So the next question is, how long does it take for employers to get back to you after an interview? Yeah, I've gotten this question from more than 3 people. Yeah. I know the anxiety that comes after you're done with your interview and you're like, when would they even get back to me? So I'll say for this one, it depends on the organization. It depends on the NHS trust. Yeah. Some are actually very, very fast, while some take their time. And it also depends on the number of people they are interviewing for the role. So you would have noticed that when you got your interview invites, they give you various options to choose, like the different dates. They give you like varieties of dates to choose and variety of time to choose from. So as you are choosing those dates and time, that's how other people that also applied for those roles and got invited for interview also have to choose when it's convenient for them. So usually, before they get back to you on the decision they've made concerning that particular interview, they would have to have interviewed everybody. that are qualified or got invited for an interview before they make their decision. So it depends on the volume of application they've had, and also the NHS trust. So what I would say is, usually I would say it takes anywhere between 2 days to say 2 weeks. But there is always an exception to this. Some people got interviewed and got their decision that same day, while others got interviewed and got their decision say within a month. So it varies, but it's usually between 2 days to 2 weeks. Okay, but another thing you can do is check up on the the progress of your application on track. And if you feel like you're becoming nervous and they didn't mention anything to you during the interview of how long it's going to take for them to get back to you after the interview, then you would want to follow up with a call after say 2 days, or if it's more than 1 week, for example, you want to follow up with a call if they've not gotten back to you. So thank you very much if you're still here at this point. Do we have anybody that have any questions? So if you have any question at this point, this is a good time to ask your question. You can drop them in the comment section. Yeah, and we will answer them.
So there are a number of questions.
Okay.
This one says, can you use one supporting information to apply for, say, jobs? As often as this person is asking, you can use one supporting statement for multiple jobs.
Okay, so I can see a question. Can you use one supporting information to apply for say job? I think Gladys is trying to say, can you use one supporting information to apply for same job or several jobs? So I will assume it's several jobs. Gladys Amani is trying to say. So if you ask me, I will say no. And why did I say no? As much as possible, try not to use one supporting statement to apply for several jobs, because the organizations are different. Okay, the organizations are different. So if you're applying to a trust in London, for example, there can be that same role available in, say, Manchester. It's a different NHS trust, even though it's within the NHS, but they're different organizations. And what they are looking for might be slightly different, even though it's the same role. So you might want to write different supporting statement for each of them. I don't know if I've answered your question, but yeah. So
Next question. It says,
okay, so May Queen said, please, is it true that NHS is not recruiting from red list countries? Thanks. Red list countries. What are the red list countries?
like Nigeria.
Like, I think Nigeria is like one of the red list countries. So is it true that the NHS is not recruiting from red list countries?
Yeah.
About this, personally, my personal opinion, I'll say no. Yeah, I will say no, because right now, I think if you are qualified and you have what they are looking for, they will even state it categorically on their job adverts that that for those that are giving COS, for example, and are open to visa sponsorship, they'll state it on their job adverts that this role is open to those seeking or looking for visa sponsorship. And then in some of the benefits there, you will see that they will tell you there is it benefit for flight tickets and stuff and different things like that, relocation packages and all of that. So I don't think it's true. So because, again, why I said that is because, for example, there are lots of Nigerians here that are not yet British, though they are residing in the country, and before they switch their visa, they are still Nigerians and they are getting this job. So I would debunk that.
I think what the NHS does not do is that the NHS does not go to advertise for jobs in Nigeria, for example.
Oh, okay.
That's what the World Health Organization, that's how they group red lists and all the different
lists. Okay. And yeah, I just got an input now that Also, the NHS does not go to those red list countries to go and advertise for their jobs. Yeah, but if someone from that country is qualified and applies for the job in the UK, they will give them equal opportunity of interviewing them and giving them the job, whether from inside the UK or from outside the UK, so long as they qualify and they have what they are looking for. So do we have any other question?
Yes, there's one.
Okay, so Gladys again said, do all band 3 give sponsorship even if it is not stated in the application? So for this one, we made a video about jobs that qualify for visa sponsorship sometime early this year before what's the name of that list called?
The immigration salary list.
The previous one.
Shortage occupation list.
Yeah. So before the shortage occupation list was changed to the immigration salary list, we made a video about how to identify jobs that qualify for visa sponsorship. The video is on there. So as at that time, if a job is on that list, then the chances that it qualifies for visa sponsorship is high. In fact, it meant that that job is qualified to be sponsored, all right? But so, for example, if you get a job that is not on that list as at that time, even if it's band 3, there might be things that they might use to say this job does not qualify for visa sponsorship. But right now, I would say you need to look at this immigration salary list to know jobs that qualify for visa sponsorship. Yeah, you need to know, especially now that should I say, what you call it, the salary scale has been changed and increased, but mostly the NHS is the highest employer of overseas worker that gives out visa sponsorship to people if they qualify for it. Yeah.
So there's one more.
Okay. This is another question from Gladys saying, assuming I have only 3 months experience, do I get the chance to be successful for that interview? Because some people say they need 6 months experience. Again, it depends on what the employer is looking for and how you are able to, should I say, prove yourself or sell yourself when you make it to the point of the interview. All right. So if one employer is saying they need 6 months experience, have you tried other locations? Are you willing to relocate? Because in my own case, for example, when I was looking for visa sponsorship, if you go and watch that video, I applied to several places for that same job. And I got several, should I say, interviews for that same job. All right. And if an employer is in their need or needs a particular worker for that role, like urgently, and sees someone who can sell themselves or who can do what they are looking for or who can perform on that role, they don't mind taking you, because for all jobs in the UK, you will still be trained before you even start working. Even if you have 6 years experience, they're still going to train you, even if you have 3 months experience. And then there's another thing that people used to overlook when applying for jobs. They will think certain experiences they've had from, say, their home country is not valid because it's not in the UK. The experience I had in the lab that gave me my COS was the one I had in my home country, way back in my home country. All right, so I would not entirely say the 3 months experience you have is irrelevant. It's relevant. So even the organization that is saying they need 6 months experience, try and apply for it. If the application pulls through and you make it to the point of interview, you can back up your claim saying, even though a 3 months experience you have, you know this, you're able to do this, and they can give you a chance. So don't write yourself off. Yeah, that's what I would say. Do we have another question? All right, so I'm going to give us 5 more minutes in case anybody has any more question. Yeah, any more question? And I want to use this time to thank you very much if you are still here for this live. If you are still here for this live, thank you very much. In case you just came across this channel by mistake and you've not subscribed to our channel, please, I'm begging you, please, 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 please subscribe to our channel. Click on the subscription button, subscribe to our channel, turn on your notification bell to get notified the moment to post any content. And if you found this live helpful and you want us to be doing it more often, I want to also hear your feedback in the comment section. Tell us that you want this more often, and then we can be coming on here to share more information with you. And if you have any questions or areas or topics that you want us to be discussing subsequently from here, you can also drop the feedback in the comment section so that we will know what to bring your way again. All right. Yeah. And yeah, I'm still waiting in case you have any more questions. Okay. And if you know anyone that might need the information we've shared in this live, send this video to them. Just help them by sending them this video and they will thank you. I'm sure they will thank you because you have made their day. You would have made their day by doing that. So do we have any more
Someone
questions?
says, please keep doing more. Someone says, thank you.
Okay.
Someone is asking a question.
Okay, thank you, May, for I got your feedback saying we should do this more. Yeah, we will surely do this more. And support us by subscribing, sharing the link, and spreading the word so that we can do this more. Yeah, any more question?
So this person is asking for someone with no healthcare background. What do they impute in the education section of the job application?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't get that. For those with no healthcare background, what do we impute in the education section of the job application? Ganiyu, what do you mean by no healthcare background, for example? Do you mean those that have not worked in care in the UK? So, one thing I'll say, or do you mean those that have not worked in the NHS? You mixed up healthcare background and education there. Yeah. So let me try to answer the question the best way I can. If you mean for those that have not worked in the NHS, for example, even if you've not worked in the NHS before, you can get the opportunity of getting a job in the NHS. Me, I had never worked in the NHS before I got a visa sponsorship job with the NHS. All right. And there are several ways you can get healthcare background, as you call it. You can volunteer for healthcare organizations around you. You even tell them they don't need to pay you, okay? Just try and go to them, go to their website. I think most organizations have volunteer section. Go there, apply to volunteer, even if they don't pay you. Even if even if it is 1 week experience that you have to volunteer for them, they are going to train you on what to do before you start working with them as a volunteer. Even if it is 1 week, 1 month experience you have as a volunteer with them, it counts. All right. And then if you are then having done that, if you are working on any other job in the UK, like I said, if you've not watched this live from the beginning, you can go back and watch the replay. There is something called transferable skills that you might have picked up, that you would have picked up from working on your other jobs in the UK, that you can bring into your NHS job application, and it will count because they are not just looking for people that can inject people. It's not every role in the NHS that you will have to do care or inject people or administer medication. There are jobs in the NHS that you will not even have to interact with the patient at all. But the skills that you will need on those kind of jobs are your transferable skills, like are you a team player? Are you a listener? Are you caring? Are you supportive? And all of those kind of stuff. So yeah, your experiences from your previous place of work in the UK, you can bring the transferable skills to the NHS roles you're applying for, and then you can go and volunteer for other healthcare organizations or NHS organization to get the experience for your new role that you'll be applying for. I hope that makes sense, and I hope you got that. All right. So do we have any more questions?
There's one more.
All right. So Gladys again is asking, what if your current employer do not want to give you your reference when you are successful for an interview? What will happen? So the first thing is, you need to realize this here in the UK. If you've worked for an employer, they are mandated by law to give you reference, and they are mandated by law to give you reference. And then I think there is a place in one of those trainings I did on one of my jobs. Yeah, they are mandated by law to give you reference as long as you've worked with them and have not committed any crime. And then they are also mandated not to give you a bad reference. So don't be scared to ask them for reference. And the good thing about the NHS job application is that there are some people that don't want their current employer to know that they're applying for a job. So they will ask you on that your job application that, do you want your employer to be contacted before your interview? So you can choose to say no until you land yourself an interview, or until you are successful before they will now send references to them. And then another thing is, even if you are not, say in a good should I say in good terms with your current employer, you should have built a relationship with maybe one of your leaders in that place over the period of time when you worked with them, say the couple of months. Or yeah, there should be someone that you are in good terms with. So you need to build good rapport with them, so that when you start asking for reference, it is you that will provide the email address or the contact of the person they are going to be contacting in your organization to act a reference. So you can choose to send them the contacts of the person that you know you are in good rapport with, that will be willing to give you reference, not the person that does not want to have anything to do with you, and they can send the reference, and for a month you'll be following up, and then they will not want to respond, because they can't give you bad reference and they are mandated to give you. But what some people will do is they will not respond. So you want to give them the contact of someone that you can reach and follow up on to get your reference. All right. I hope that makes sense. So do we have any questions? Gladys is also asking again, do they ask for P45 during the process? P45, I think they ask for it if you are already successful for the role, and then they ask for it at the point of starting your new role. Yeah, it's not just during the job application or interview. When you are starting your new role, yeah, that's when they ask for P45 if you have. Because there are some organizations that don't give P45 until, say, 1 month later. So for those kind of organizations, there's nothing you can do. But there are some organizations that give you P45 immediately. Should I say the very day you submit your resignation letter. So for those ones, you should give your P45 to your current or your new employer the day or when you're starting your new job, because if you don't, it will affect your salary, and then they are going to be reading your tax. So yeah. So do we have any more questions? Glad. Okay, Ganil is asking, must the references be from healthcare? Not necessarily, no. It depends on the organizations or the previous experiences you've put in your application. So they'll usually require you to submit, I think, references from 2 previous places you've worked, and then yeah, or character reference to, or something like that. Either about 2 or 3 references, but it mustn't be from healthcare. It's just from your previous place of work. Then if your previous place of work was in a healthcare setting or a healthcare organization, then yes, it would be from a healthcare organization. Okay, do we have any more questions? Let me hear your feedback. How many of you have enjoyed this live so far? If you have, say, or or what will I say now? If you have enjoyed this live so far and you got value from it, I want you to write in the comment section value, 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 value. I want to be saying that. Yeah, I want to see that. And so, for as many of you that have taken your time to stay through to the end of this live, thank you so much, May Queen, Gladys, Ganu, Dynamic Hub. Yeah, I'm seeing all of you. Ganu says thanks for the video. You're welcome, Ganu. Thank you also for watching. And you can take our time to watch our other videos on the channel. You will learn a lot from them. And do share this live with as many people that you know will find value from them and are looking for NHS jobs in the UK right now, or even any other job in the UK, and they will thank you for it. Trust me, they will. All right. So at this point, in the absence of any more question, I think this is where we call it a day. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get to do this more often because we want to help as many people get into their dream job as much as possible. All right. So thank you so much for staying true to the very end. And until I come your way again, I remain Comfort Gideon, and this is Japa Decoded. Thank you very much. Bye bye.